Recording is on.
Okay, here we are, lesson number 4 for academic. If you are seeing these guys, everybody, I'm sorry if yesterday we had a problem. I hope that you catch up the last lesson because I re-uploaded that last night. I re-recorded that. And so, because I really care about you having that. And we also talk about a topic which is very important, objects, functions, and arrays. So what is gonna happen today? Well, today is going to be more of a relaxed lesson. I just wanted to talk to you about, we did a lot this week. I just wanted to talk to you about my story as a developer, give you some advice, let you guys talk to discover your struggles. But before that, since we are talking about my coding now today and some of my struggles that I want to give to you and share with you to let you improve, I also want to share with you something related to code, which is how I usually set up my JavaScript projects for really a professional environment. I didn't show that to you in the early days because I didn't want to overload you with informations. But from now on, consider to use this approach for every project that you use in JavaScript. This is the project that I use. This is the setup that I use for personal projects and also my professional environment. So basically, that's how you set up your environment to work. Okay, so let me share with you my screen first. Let me turn on my camera. There you go, as always. Sorry for the little background noise. There was somebody drilling today. One question is, can you see the screen and me correctly? Okay, just let me do one more thing. Let me close the door here. Sorry. Sorry, I asked my flatmates to close their door so I don't hear them. Okay, so quick thing with code, and then we're going to go with a more relaxed part. Okay, so can you remember how I used to run my projects in JavaScript? So basically, what I will do till this moment was go in the lessons folder, open it with Visual Studio Code, open it inside the browser, and then basically type code inside of Visual Studio Code, then go back to the browser window, refresh that, and see the modification I had done. Something like this. Let me show you. Console.log, maybe I do some modification. This is my modification. I go here, I refresh, open the console. This is my modification. And I have to do this for every single time that I'm doing some modification. What if I'm really taken from my code and I don't want to waste time? There is a solution for that. There's a solution not to have to refresh your browser window every single time. How do you do that? Well, let's see that in a new project that I'm going to create from scratch in front of you. Let me just copy this folder. So inside of this lesson, let's create a new folder. My environment. Okay. Let me copy. Open this with why I can't drag it. Yeah. By the way, I'm not using a mouse in case you're interested. I found myself better with working with the touchpad because a Mac is amazing. Of course, I use that for working in my professional environment because I have like a tower computer. But anyway, so suppose that I'm writing my project from the beginning. I'm creating one, and I invite you, as mentioned, to do this anytime you're creating your next JavaScript project. So it's pretty empty. Let's create my index.html file. I'm going to paste this content because we really don't want anything big to happen. Let me also enter my script. Okay, console.log, my script. Let's now go inside of this folder, click on index.html. Okay, so this is the window. You can see that we're missing on the blue background, but that's not important for now. Let me also zoom on this so you can see that better. So how do I avoid having to refresh the file any single time? I forgot to do one more thing, sorry. Style.css. Okay. So you could see I had an error in my window. And okay, I just want to do one more thing, and let's show you how to do that. Okay, so we have our project. It's the same as it was before, except for the blue background. You have to refresh anytime to see the modification. Let's avoid to do that by using a package. What is a package? Basically, a package is simply a functionality, a piece of software that you take from somewhere and you integrate that inside of your application, inside of your JavaScript application. Now, since with your JavaScript application, you gotta know what kind of, you gotta store somewhere what kind of integration you're using, what kind of packages. You have to have something called a package.json file. And that's where we will store all of our packages, information, their version, because they get updated. And you just don't simply create a package.json file like this, package.json. You initialize that by using a special command, which is called npm. npm is a software registry that provides us these packages. And we can use npm also on the command line. To do that, you will have to have npm installed on your machine. To know if you have it, just go on npm the version. I have this version currently. I think I should update that. Install node.js in case you don't have it, and you just download it for your version. So I'm going to install a package. I'm going to first initialize my package.json with this command. So npm init y, and you're going to see we have our package.json. It says my environment, script.js. Just don't really care about this info for now. And then I'm going to install a package now, and that package is called live server. Let's see if I have the command here. npm install g live server. Install g live server. Oh, I forgot about the password. Okay, so right now I'm installing this package, and you will see that it will pop up inside of our package.json. Oh no, sorry, it didn't pop up because I installed it as a tool globally using this instruction /g. So basically I install like one more functionality to my computer, if you want to say, and now I can use this package across all of my projects. We will use package.json later. What is live server used for? Well, to be honest, there is also a package for live server, like an extension. Live server, let me check that. Live server. Launch a deployment local server with live reload feature. So that's exactly what we want, live reload feature when we do a modification. How do you use live server? Well, to be honest, to know that, you just go on live server tutorial and, sorry for the noise, search for it, and you will see like there are instructions on the official page. I don't need that right now because I've already used it. I know how to use that. You simply run live server in your terminal. Keep in mind that you can also use another terminal in your computer. You just have to move inside of your folder of your project folder. I'm not doing that because you can open one embedded inside of your Visual Studio Code project by going here, new terminal. Live server. Did you see what happened? Well, I'm going to tell you, live server just started. So this process started on our terminal, and we just started, our project on a little local server. And now you can see that we have live node relabeled. Super cool. We go on script.js, console.log, first modification, save. We go here, First modification. Do you notice the difference with what I did earlier? I didn't refresh the project at all. Let's do that again. Let me copy this. Second modification. I'm not refreshing it. You can see from here. Open the console. Second modification. How cool is that? From now on, every modification that you will do to your project will be immediately seen inside of your browser. So that's super cool. Live server is a process, so it means that it keeps running until you stop it. To stop it, just run Control-C on your terminal. And, oh, sorry, I selected the wrong thing. Control-C, and it stopped. And now it's not working anymore. So if I do term modification, I come here, and it doesn't work because I stopped it. So chat, is that clear to you right now? This is extremely useful for seeing CSS style. Exactly.
Chantal has a good question there. I don't know if you wanted to answer that.
Yeah, what is the difference between live server for Studio Code and live server? What do you mean for Studio Code? You mean Visual Studio Code?
Yeah, I think she means what's the difference between using live server in VS Code, that kind of built-in package that you installed in VS Code, compared to running it with NPM?
Oh, well, the difference, actually, using it with the terminal is quite of a more professional approach, and we are making use of npm, which is, as I mentioned, a software registry, and the command npm to run it. So it's just like a different way of running that. And with what we did, we installed this command all over our computer, so we can use that for all of our projects. And if you just get it on as an extension, I guess you have to install it and then set it up for every single project. To be honest, I never use it as an extension. So that's also why I didn't put that into the extension package that I created for you.
Yeah, I think along with that as well. So yeah, as Hafiz mentioned, I also tend to use it as the VS Code extension. I guess the difference would be, I mean, the functionality is the same. It's just a case of, do you want an extension that you can use within VS Code, which is probably what you would be doing 99% of the time anyway when you're coding, or do you want that access? Do you want that functionality to just live on your computer outside of VS Code?
Yes.
So if you are not using VS Code, but you want to open a live server to just run some files that you have, you could use it from the command line. So I guess there's that difference, really.
I tend to use it on the command line. So because, also in the professional environment, we tend to use it like that. So I hope that's a satisfactory answer for you, Chantal. So 2 more things that I wanted to show you in this lesson before going on with some Q&A are, let me show them to you. First of all, okay, I have live server closed. Okay, so when you are writing your code, a very important thing that you want to do is first to make it consistent. How do you make your code consistent? Well, you have consistency basically is based on a set of rules that you got to adopt through your code base. So you might not really care about consistency when you're writing a project just by yourself, but when you're writing projects with 10 other people, and maybe somebody prefer to use double quotes, somebody else prefer to use single quotes, somebody doesn't want to use console.log, but they want to use console.error, and somebody prefer to use let at all cost, while somebody else uses const. They can become quite problematic because, when you work in a professional environment and you have to do a modification, people will review that modification. So you got to find a common style that you want to use, so you don't end up in a conflict of how to solve a problem. So how do you do that? How do you enforce a style for your code in your projects? You do that by using a linter. A linter basically is just a background program that runs, and checks your code and it reinforces some rules, some styles. So these rules usually are inside of are created by developers, and there are some kind of famous rules or set of rules that are adopted by the community. For example, in my professional project, we use the Airbnb one, Airbnb ESLint. Let me show you what I'm talking about. ESLint config Airbnb. What's that? So basically, at Airbnb, the developers decided to, create their JavaScript style guide, and they use ESLint to reinforce some rules that for them were optimal. Also, Google did this, Microsoft did this. So for example, they say that for strings, use single quotes per string. Const name, they say, you see, bad, good with single quotes. Let's see something else. For functions, use template strings, which I will show to you then later in the course, instead of just simple strings. So how do they enforce this style in their company? Well, they set these rules inside of their linter. Let's create our own. Let's basically set up our linter to use Airbnb rules. Why don't we create our own one? Well, we can, but Airbnb has prepared something so cool for us. So let's just trust them and use their set. If we want to change one because we don't agree, for example, that we shouldn't use single quotes in JavaScript, we can always change that. So I want to give props to this author. I'm going to send you the link now. It's this author, which I found on Medium. I'm going to send the link to you now. This article, as he explained perfectly how to set up basically a linter on it's called Travis Horn, how to set up a linter on your project. What I'm going to do now is, of course, move into your directory, set up npm. Why? Because we're installing in some packages, and these packages are the Airbnb configuration for our linter. Let's run this command. I have that saved here on my VS Code. Here we go. Let that run. Once that's done, you see the project was correct. You see that our package.json updated because inside of the dev dependencies, so dependencies that we were using for our code, ESLint config Airbnb base, and ESLint plugin import were installed. And this node module folder that popped up here is basically needed because when you install dependencies, they have dependencies also. So dependencies of dependencies. And you gotta install them at the same time. So they're stored here. You see, we have acorn, callbind. Just don't care about this. People never open node modules because it's something not necessary. Like when we install something, npm does everything for us. So how do we set up now our linter? We create a new, wrong folder. We create a file called .eslint.rc.js. You see, it has also this super cool icon. If you're not seeing that, it's because I have these icons in a set that I have in my extension package. So you can check that out if that thing that I prepared for you. Let's go back to the article. And now we can say, we can copy paste this code. And basically, instead of this code, we're saying, okay, ESLint, I want to use this Airbnb configuration. Sorry, why does it complain? There you go. Basically, we said extend because it just really means, hey, use Airbnb base use the Airbnb rules for my linter configuration. And do you want to see that in action? Well, let's do this, because now if we go, for example, to my project, and I type in let x equal 10, what's this red line? It's the linter that we configured with some rules, in our case, the Airbnb ones, because they're great, telling us, hey, x is never reassigned, use const instead. And you can see that on the right of this message, you can see a little ESLint parenthesis something. That's basically the rule that is set up in our configuration that is forbidding us from doing this. Let me show you another example. Const x equal 10. Here you have x is a sign, but a value, but never used. And this will never stop unless we use that for our first console.log. So now we have a system for reinforcing rules inside of our project. Of course, if you go to lint and you check out the configuration, the docs, developer guide, working with rules, you can search the docs for the rule which you may need and just use that. For now, we're using all the ones of Airbnb. I suggest you stick with that kind of style and just make some modification. To be honest, Airbnb also forbid if I remember that, semicolons. No, okay, no, it's not forbidden. Sorry, I confused myself. I don't know, because there was another famous style guide on ESLint that forbid semicolons. Was that clear to you? Drop a yes, please, if that was clear, of course. Yes. Perfect. So we have library loading, we have linting. What do we need to do? One last thing is we need to make our code beautiful when we save it, because when you're writing a lot of code and you're just making errors with spacing, you're not properly formatting that. How do you solve that? Well, you solve that by using Prettier. Prettier is basically an extension that you have on Visual Studio. You can download it. You have that already. And it has, kind of similar to a linter, a set of rules which you will use to format your code. So I'm talking particularly uniquely on the sense of aesthetic of your code. So it really makes sense to use Prettier. How? When you say format on save on Visual Studio Code, you can see that I did control, comma, this, I'm not sure that you, control, comma, this menu open. I search for format on save. And I said Visual Studio Code, use, where is the format? Yes, use Prettier to format when I save my file. But Prettier has some default configuration, so it's different from a linter in that sense. But at the same time, you can configure it kind of like you would do with a linter, and the approach is just so similar. You come in your project, you do .prettier rc, you open this, and let me see some rules. For example, you see that now when I enter my code, let me see that when I save, a semicolon is added directly now, because that's the default setting for Prettier. I don't want that to happen. I want to tell Prettier, hey, when you prettify, when you make my code look beautiful, don't add semicolons. How do you do that? With a rule. And the rule, if I'm not wrong, is semi-false. There you go. Let me save. And you see, the rule, the semicolon is not being applied anymore. Why? Because I told Prettier, don't do that when you prettify my code. When do you prettify my code? When I'm saving. So that's super cool. One last thing that I wanted to show you, for example, is that with the linter now, you see that a console.log is being forbidden to us. ESLint, no console. And that's not something cool, because we always use that. So let me see if I can modify that. You should have something called rules to set up, to override the rules that we got from Airbnb. And you add no console, and then you add a value to it. It should be never. Let me see. So the log, there you go, amazing. What I did now is I added, we are extending the Airbnb base setup for our linter, but as I mentioned, you can override some rules. So for example, in my case, I don't want you to forbid me from using console. So when I did a hover on my code, I said that I saw that the rule being used to forbid me from using console.log was no console. So I did comma rules, and here you have an object, and you should know what that is at this point with the rule that I want to override, no console, and in case this value is never. If you're asking how do you know that the value is never and not, for example, something like false or tralala, anything really, it's because I know how to use a linter. But for you, it doesn't take that much. You just really go on ESLint docs, and for example, you write no console, and just search for that by yourself. I really want and here you have all the info that you may need. No console, off, and so you have different values that you can assign to a console. Or for example, you could set a warn, an error, really. So these are the 3 things I wanted to show to you today. Chat, was that clear to you? Does that seem helpful? I just got it set up. That's great, Ibrahim. My classic sip of water. So what do I suggest you to do now? And that's what I was about to say, Christy. You said something very intelligent in the chat right now, which is I need to review it again. Just follow the video that we will upload on YouTube later. Just follow that while setting up in your environment. And so you can understand how to do the process. You memorize how to do that by yourself. And from the next time you're running a project, just use LiveServer, Prettier, and ESLint. As always, I suggest you to use just Airbnb and really override your rules as you prefer. To be honest, I'm interested if you override some rules and you enter some preferences in your code. I think that for me, it's just allow console.logs, and for Prettier, remove errors with the copied code from service horn. What does that mean, Gary? You have problems with the code. We can talk about it later. Maybe you can write to me on Discord or here. And so if you change some rules and you do something cool, just let me know in the Discord chat. And so that's really also the homework that I will give you for today. It's going to be Easter these days. So I suggest that you keep practicing objects, functions, and arrays, but you do that after setting up your ESLint Prettier LiveServer environment. So that's it for this part of the lesson. The second part of the lesson, and you will see that I stopped sharing my screen, was just to give you space, like we did, like how we did me and Sunil on my first appearance on Stackademic, just like really ask me anything that can be related to our lesson today or my career. So I would like you guys to just relax before the weekend. Really ask me anything. I'm here to open myself more because I think that it's important for you to know more the teachers. I'm a developer, and so I entered the professional world already. So I feel like I can really share ideas and things with you. So if you just want to start asking me some question in the chat, that would be great. I will read them all. Or if you prefer, I can start talking and give you an input. Let me see what the chat says.
I'm still here, by the way. Sorry, I'm just. I keep getting loads of Twitter messages at the moment. I'm just trying to reply to them.
So Okay. Well, okay. So I read two questions, one from Isaiah and one from Fitz. Just, is there any way to add after I have written what I wanted that I have? I don't understand. Can you reformulate your question, Hafiz? So Isaiah, great question. What challenges did you face as a starting developer, and how did you overcome them? I think that the challenges as a developer are mainly all the same, except some few exceptions. I feel that the challenges that I went through are the same as probably guys you're going through. So knowing what to study, knowing where to get resources, and basically knowing how to learn them. So, for example, I want to learn JavaScript. Where do I get resources? And how do I learn that? So, when do I know that I can say, I know JavaScript and that I'm becoming a software developer? So, I did a high school. I was basically concentrated on software development, and we were doing coding at school. I didn't really like that. I didn't really like that at all. It was terrible. I didn't enjoy my teacher's style. I just felt like I could do more at home by myself. So what I did at the beginning, I used all the money I had, and I bought a single resource to learn coding. That's the same thing that I suggest you to do. Buy a single resource to learn coding. In my case, that was a book. For you, it's academic. Even if you can use like other. Sunil, can you mute yourself, please?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
You can use some, other companion tools like docs and things like that. And I would code every day, going through the problems that the book was suggesting, and solve them. And I would do that. And at school, I would then learn fundamentals of computer science and do some code. So I will understand about databases, software architecture, and so that's how I mainly overcame that, by being constant, choosing a single resource, a very good single resource to use, and getting focused on that. What was your first programming language? I did discover programming with a language that was called Visual Basic. And basically, I just discovered it, and I downloaded Visual Studio Code, and I ran my first Hello World. And to this day, I still remember the emotions that I felt when I saw the computer doing what I was doing, what I was telling the computer to do. It was just unbelievable. Then I proceeded to do some experiments, some little games with Visual Basic. And at school, we will learn mainly Java and C++ at home. Terrible choice for a beginner. I don't suggest to use Java or C++ because they're so complex languages, especially C++. Like with Python or JavaScript, you do in one line what you have to do in 10 of C++ or Java. And then Java has static typing. It was just a mess. Did you have any technical tests when you entered your company? Well, short answer, yes, but not for the company I'm working for. So I work for 3 different companies, and I always had a technical test for the first 2. In the first case, I was working with JavaScript and Java. I had a phone call interview. I had then another technical interview. I was still in Naples at the time, so we did that over, Zoom or Skype, I guess it was at the time. Zoom wasn't that famous as now. And then I went to Milan for a day to have, other questions, which were very similar to the one I had on the second interview. Things like, how do we implement a class in Java? What is this in JavaScript? It was really not a whiteboard thing. Just they were looking for people who were very beginners, just to put them in the job market. And for the company I'm currently working for, I didn't sustain any interview. The story behind this is pretty fun and pretty, motivational, because I wasn't finding myself well in my last job experience. I gathered the courage to say, okay, I'm leaving, and I was 1 month without a job. That was a terrifying time for me because my parents are not rich. They've never been. They couldn't, give me money to stay here while I would find another job in Milan. So I just knew that once I finished the money I had in my bank account, that would be it. I wouldn't know what to do anymore. But thank God, luckily, after 1 month of dropping my job, I found another one. There was this company I'm working for was looking for a senior developer, but the person who was sending them candidates just sent me to them, even if I was still junior, just to see how it would go. And they enjoyed myself so much, really, because I answered some questions, some technical questions about React, and they enjoyed my spirit and my passion. And I skipped the other 2 interview process. They said, we are still going to look for a senior developer, but we also freed up a seat for one more junior developer in the team. Do you want to be part of it? And it was just, amazing. I had a job, and so 3 days later, I was, sitting there with my new job, and this was 2 months before the pandemic hit. So one thing that I wanted to share with you is why, if I am so young and I didn't have the experience that they needed, was I taken, I shouldn't be answering this question because you should ask the people who hire me. But from my point of view, what I can tell is that if you have passion, always remember that what you have inside of yourself, you have that written here. So people can see you a lot better than what you think. People can see through you a lot better than what you think. So if you have real passion, you have that written here, meaning that they can see that it shines through you. So I always had real passion for coding. I said that, I mentioned that. And so when people interviewing you will see that, and they will see that you are available to learn and you want to do more, they are probably going to hire you. And this happened again also with other companies who wanted to hire me, even if I didn't have the required experience, because talent is not just about what you are now, is what you can be. So this is also something important that people interviewing have to do, seeing your talent and seeing what you can become. And actually, I grew a lot in this company, and I feel like I gave them back what they gave to me. I am super proud of working for this company. I really love it. And it was a matter of luck, passion, motivation, and, all great things. Is there any other question? I'm enjoying doing this. I love to do it. I remember. Hi, Fit.
Hafiz here. Yeah, I think I didn't make myself understand. My question was that, 2 days ago, you told us about using some short keys, and you told about commenting the whole thing with Control K plus C, and in iOS, I don't know what it was, Command K. Something.
Correct.
So, is there any way that I can, if I have written a string but I forgot to put that string, that what is that?
The quotes, yes.
The quotes, yeah. So
there is a way to put them, yes.
Is there any way I have
Yes.
written the string but I have forgotten?
I'm gonna show that to you.
Yeah. This is what I wanted to say. Yes, thanks.
It's a lot easier than what most people think. Let's go to the code. Const name equal past. Double click, so you highlight it, and then you enter the quotes button. You see? Visual Studio Code wraps that automatically for you.
Damn. Yeah, thanks very much.
What if I do 0 and I do select that and I enter square brackets? It wraps it in square brackets. So you can do that for objects, functions, arrays. So
okay, thanks very much. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Let me stop sharing my screen. So I feel like this is the time for you guys to ask me other questions if you want. Also, give to me some of your struggles so we can talk about them and things like that. Let me see if somebody is not shy and ask me some question. Pick someone. Life is a struggle. So, Isaiah, do you want to, or Christy, do you want, or Grace, do you want to ask me any other question? Because I saw that you were being quite active early on. Any tips on how to select the best source of learning? Yes, I have. Okay, so when you are learning to code, you are so subject to feeling overwhelmed by so many resources. You go on Twitter and people are telling you like, hey, I'm gonna slap you this product on your face, like buy it, buy this course on Udemy, buy this book. My wallet is not infinite, and you have to select in a smart way what you're going to pick as resources. So my advice usually is pick a resource that organizes the learning process for you. So for example, with Stackademic, that's great because we tell you to become a front-end developer, you got to do this, 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 and this, and we give that to you for free. So that's a first case of a great learning resource. The second one is that, so not only it provides you a path, but it provides quality of resources. So, quality of learning experience. So that's mainly my advice. Usually when I want to learn a language, I just, in that sense, I pick up a Udemy course because it has a learning path to learn that. And usually Udemy courses are great if you pick the right authors for that. But I didn't have Stackademic at the time of learning, so it's really important to keep that organized. So yeah, Fitz is laughing. Yeah, my wallet unfortunately is not unlimited. And one thing that I wanted to say again is there's nothing bad in selling a product if you are a developer who's also a creator. I am that too, and I will start one cool thing soon on my mail list. There's really nothing bad in that. It's just that as a client, you can't buy all of them unless you have unlimited money. So you have to select that with attention. Do you think I better invest on MacBook? Okay, so this is correlated to Grace. What we said above against famous battles, So we said Pepsi against Cola, before the lesson started to be recorded. It's really up to your preferences with people. My answer is I bought this Mac that I'm using 3 months ago. It's amazing. It's just an amazing machine. I have an M1 version, late 2020. It's a MacBook Air. It's so light. It doesn't have a fan. It doesn't make noise at all. You won't never hear noise from a fan because it doesn't have it. So, it's super light. I take it anywhere. And for coding is amazing because you have the Linux terminal. So you have commands like cd, ls, which you don't have on Windows, even if I think they're getting upgrades in that sense. And for coding is just supreme. I love that. Having Visual Studio in front of my eyes with this Retina display, it's amazing. And when it comes instead to my environment, I have a professional environment. I have Linux. We didn't have the opportunity to choose, but Linux is still great for developing because I really care about the command line. But for my personal reason, I prefer a Mac because I got that. Plus, I got beautiful hardware, and this wasn't even too expensive, to be honest, because you can also split the pay across months, like a plane. So any other questions, guys? And I was thinking.
Hi, this is Asaya.
Hi, Asaya.
Question. As far as next week goes, are we meeting, is it 5 days a week, 4 days a week? What's the status on that?
Okay, so I was going to talk about that at the very end of the lesson. So next week, we are going to do 3 lessons, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to be an exciting week it's going to be basically on Wednesday. We're going to talk about the DOM, and we're going to build a cool project using JavaScript, like a color flipper and a little model opener. On Thursday, I'm just going to draw some things on the screen for you because I want to show you how JavaScript works behind the scene. And after that, we are going to do our competition time on Friday. So in case you're wondering what this competition time is, we're going to go on a website, little spoiler, called Coding Game, and we're going to do something called Clash of Code, which basically is a challenge between developers to solve a super small problem in 15 minutes. I'm going to challenge Sunil, and we're all going to challenge together, really, because at the end of every 15 minutes, there will be a leaderboard, and we will comment some people's like higher classificate codes. So, we can say, okay, bravo, good, you wrote the code. And so hope that a satisfactory answer to you, Asaya. We won't have lesson Monday and Tuesday because it's national. Tuesday I always can't, and on Monday it's national. I'm gonna do a grigliata, which means cooking meat in Italian, because it's Easter. And Sunil, do you want to ask me a question? And no, you can't surrender before joining the challenge. Don't be afraid.
Well, that's my question done, isn't it? There. No, I don't have any specific. Actually, I don't have any specific questions, but I do have a couple of just things to say, I guess. So, following on from the question about whether someone should invest in a Mac, and also why so many tutorials seem to use Macs. So I don't think it's necessary for somebody to go and all of a sudden buy a Mac when you'll say learning how to code. For all intents and purposes, everything that you're doing at the moment and everything that you're learning will not be impacted in a negative way by using a Windows computer. Maybe 6 or 7 years ago, this would have been the case with some languages such as Ruby, or Ruby on Rails, which was designed predominantly for Mac development, which meant that developers trying to make applications with Ruby on Rails on Windows would have a worse experience and things just wouldn't work. Nowadays, it's not really that way. So it's more of a personal preference rather than a massive change in your development environment. And the reason why I want to just point this out is because, everybody who's taken this course is doing it as something that is free. And Macs, whether they come with payment plans or not, are expensive. They're investments in that regard, and they do last many years.
That's why I split the payment.
I mean, well, exactly, and I think from your perspective, or possibly mine, or maybe a few of the other people here as well, we're already working in the web, in that development space. So we're already in it, and it's kind of just upgrading some of the hardware that we continue to use. But I would say if you're looking to enter this industry, you don't need to have a Mac in order to enter the industry. So I wouldn't bother looking at like refurbished Macs or things like that. Like if you have a computer and it works, that's enough. That's all you need to be able to learn how to code. You need a computer. If you've got an internet connection, that's going to help. And if there are people who can help mentor you along the way, such as Piero and myself, and any of the other teachers that will come on in the coming months, then that's all you need. So just don't feel as though you need a Mac in order to become a developer, quote unquote, because it's not that case. And then the second thing was just about like questions and advice for new developers and things like that. So Piero and myself will be holding a Twitter Spaces at some point soon. I'm kind of just throwing that on you now, Piero. But
really? It's called. It will be called spaghetti code because I decided to be called spaghetti. No, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, that's good for the cooking show that you'll be doing. Hopefully.
Yes. If Sunil comes to Milan or I go to Genoa, I promise to you, and Sunil, surprise, I'm telling this to you now, we will have a cooking lesson while we answer coding questions. Cooking spaghetti. Spaghetti code with Piero. Spaghetti code with Piero and Sunil. Sunil, do you have a let's say special recipe that you like to prefer? For example, you invite someone over. What's your recipe that you say? Okay, I really can do this. For me, it's pasta al forno, which basically it's oven baked pasta with pepperoni, which in Italian is salame, and eggs, and pasta and sauce. That's amazing. E la mia nonna loves it.
Amazing. So I was going to make a joke about myself, but because we're still recording, I won't, just in case anyone watching this who doesn't know me thinks that I am an idiot. But when it comes to cooking, I don't cook so much in terms of kind of main dishes, but I do bake quite a bit. So I will kind of make cakes and things like that, or cookies and brownies and things. So that might be something that I would make if I knew somebody was coming over. I might prepare some sort of cake for afterwards.
So if we do spaghetti code with Piero and Sunil, I make the pasta, he makes the brownies.
There we go.
And wine is on me. So we just bring some wine to work.
And Hafiz has invited us to Finland as well now. He said biryani is on.
I don't know what that is, but I want to try that.
It'll be some sort of like South Asian dish. So it'll be like curry.
Ibrahim wants to do the landing page for the spaghetti code.
Ah, nice. Hey Ibrahim, if you want, you can make the landing page for Stackademic as well. I had been thinking about that. I think we spoke about it before. Like, it could be that one of the projects at some point could be to actually try and design like a feature or something for the Stackademic dashboard or the website. But I don't want it to feel like slave work.
Let's make a Sunil. Can we make a Sunil Sandhu fan page? Sunil Sandhu tribute page.
As one of the projects. Yes, I want you to make a page for me. I will provide some photos of myself in interesting poses.
Yes, but you like in a pose like you're a king, Yeah. So I think in 2 minutes I'm going to stop record, guys. I will stay here for like other 10 or 15 minutes if you want to chat again. I want to tell you one last thing. And basically, I thought about telling you more about my job, but really, I just realized that what I wanted to tell you is this. I wanted to tell you one single thing about me after this lesson. And that is, I don't come from a rich family. My dad works with dogs. My mama works in a shop for clothing. I always had what they could give me in my life, and luckily, thank God, I had a computer and I had this passion for coding. All the rest that I got was because I took it with passion, struggle, and working hard. So really, what I want to share with you is that now I can travel, I can do nice things, and I earned that by following my passion. I'm sure that all of you have this great passion for coding, and really, if you work hard, I'm sure that you will find a job, you will improve your position, and you will do great things, because there's no reason why I could do that and you can't. It's just, coding helped me to move to Milan, and I live, yes, in a shared flat, but that's okay because I don't want one just for me. I can travel, I can, even like buying basic things, but with my money that I earned via my passion. And that's the greatest pleasure that you can have in your life. If you can do something that you love for work, you never really wake up with, I don't want to go to work. That's not the case. So that was kind of a word of encouragement that I wanted to give you, because I know that also the theme about money and struggling with that is important for you guys. So it's basically important for everybody, and because money hits a point, a uncovered point in all of us. So that's what I wanted to tell you. And thanks to you for your words, Christy and Hafid. Hafid, you wanted to have one last question. Tell me.
I always have a question. Yeah.
I always have a question.
Yeah. And yeah. So I was searching for jobs for someone who is new to this field, and I have already asked this question to Sunil, but still
His answer wasn't satisfactory. Don't worry.
It was.
Okay.
But the thing is that how to how to handle this thing that when you search for even a junior web developer, and there are so many things written in the role or what you need to know.
Okay, so this opens such a huge discussion related to job interviews. We will have a section that I will be hosting further on in the course dedicated to job interviews and things like that. But let me give you a quick answer, before going deeper on that. First of all, have as many bullets as you can to shoot, because you want to be as prepared as you can, and for the coding interview. So prepare for that. Prepare for system design interview, HTML, CSS, JavaScript questions. Create your portfolio website. That's already one thing. Polish your resume, and you already show to potential hiring companies that you want to do one step more, that you're really passionate, and they will see that passion. This is the important thing, and they will see that you're doing projects, you're throwing yourself, in the battle, let's say. Just realize also that be careful when choosing companies to apply for, because a company that asks for 30 things, is not a good company, because really usually you work with 3 or 4 stack or 4 languages in a stack. If they're asking you for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Angular, Vue, Adobe, just don't apply, because that's not realistic. And also realize that most of the time when you see something on when you see like a job announcement, usually what happens is that the HR manager goes to developers and asks, what do you want from the new candidate? And they say 10 things. But in reality, they know that even if you know 5 or 6 of them, you can learn the other. So it's really important in your position to be as prepared as you can, portfolio, curriculum, and then just be careful with the company you apply at, and also remember that that's just, most of the time, that's a wish list from developers. You really just want to focus on 3-4 things, and if you have passion and you can prove that you can learn things, it's okay. To be honest, today, if I wanted to apply to a company which uses Vue and I never used it, I would do that anyway, because I have experience with development and I can prove to them that I can learn coding, So learn coding in Vue.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks, Fitz. Do you have one more question? No, I'm joking, of course. Just...
I'm making up. I'm making up one.
It's like, do you know when you play like role games, every character has a special move. So a power move. So you have one more question, power move.
Yeah.
Good, but thank you. But really, ask as many questions as you want. It's just a pleasure for me to answer those. And so I will stop the recording now, and we can stay here for 10 more minutes. Academic, stop the recording. This is useless to do because really it takes me a while to stop it.